Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Be sure to check me out over on Rumble. There you'll find all of my stuff from YouTube, plus my political and social commentary and weekly current events, which YouTube frowns on. Links to my Rumble channel as well as my other YouTube channels and links to let you order my books are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an advanced Dungeons & Dragons advice video on Mother Nature. As a dungeon master, it's your job to create maps. Maps of the area, maps of the continent, maps of the nations, maps of the cities, maps of the islands, maps of the dungeons. There's a lot of maps in advanced Dungeons & Dragons. It would behoove you to learn a little bit about the various types of terrain, weather, distance and scale, etc. Basic cartography. One book I can never ever recommend enough is the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Wilderness Survival Guide. In that book is a wealth of information on a wide range of topics, all of which will help you design your world. As a matter of fact, on page 103 is a section titled Starting from Scratch. And that's literally what it is, world building. Directly after that, there's an appendix which talks about weather. The book primarily illustrates how weather impacts the game, but it doesn't explain the meteorology, how weather happens. This is important to understand if you're designing a world. Basic meteorology is determined by the seasons, and the seasons are determined by the tilt of the planet and the sun, and there's a lot of different factors, but the seasons are what your players are primarily going to be worried about. Mountaintops are cold in the winter, and they're cold all the time pretty much, but in the winter, that's where the snow collects. When the snow melts, the water runs downhill, creating streams, rivers, and lakes. That usually happens in spring. The summer heats up the land. Warm air rises, cool air descends, creating wind. You have wind. You have two areas, Area A and Area B. Area A is warm, the air heats up and rises, leaving a void. The air from nearby Area B rushes in to fill said void, creating wind. The rising warm air brings the humidity up into the sky, creating clouds. When the water cools, it creates rain. When autumn comes, that rain becomes snow because it's cold. This is, of course, an overly simplified rundown of meteorology, but you get the idea. You might want to look into some of that stuff, learn about it. Basic physics, basic meteorology, basic hydrodynamics, basic laws of thermodynamics. You don't have to be a PhD expert in these various fields, but understanding the natural laws that govern a world will help you to create a world governed by those laws. That way, when something unusual or abnormal or paranormal, outright weird happens, magic, somebody casts a magic spell, for example, you can describe it with the proper nuance. If the natural laws apply in your world, it makes the magic and anomalous events that much more pronounced. Now, monsters and magic are cool, but one of the things that many dungeon masters overlook is bad weather. For those of you who scoff at bad weather, I gotta say, you're being stupid. If you've ever been camping and the weather turned quickly, you probably piled into the car to wait it out or even packed up everything and left. Imagine there's no place to pile into, or no place to wait it out, or no car to drive out of the situation. Imagine there's no shelter. Imagine there's no convenience store to head to. Imagine there's no phones to call for help. Imagine there's no search and rescue responders or helicopters. Imagine you have to travel from point A to point B and it's a several week trip. There's no highway, but only a rough trail. There's no law enforcement that patrols that trail. You have to plan for every contingency and bring along anything you may need. There's no weather station or weather apps to warn you of weather ahead of time. Tornadoes, blizzards, torrential rain, flash floods, earthquakes, droughts, hailstorms, and the like are deadly enough in our modern world. Imagine how deadly they would be if there was no warning. Wildfires are common in nature as well. Um, lightning can start a fire, and next thing you know, you're running through the trees trying to escape a fire. And then, of course, there's the normal animals and predators, because that's part of nature as well. One of the things that people don't tend to think about are the other travelers. Maybe they're down on their luck and need your food or your horses or your gear. Maybe maybe they're just evil and they want your stuff. Maybe they ran into bad weather and lost their stuff. Who knows? And that's just the normal stuff. I didn't talk about the monsters, which roam most advanced Dungeons and Dragons worlds. Any way you want to look at it, Mother Nature's a bitch, and she's a merciless bitch to boot. Mother Nature has a field where she grows the fuck she gives about PCs, and her field is not only barren, but it's been salted and covered with a thick layer of lye. Mother Nature don't give no fucks. She don't give no fucks at all. Play her accordingly. Now, I'm not saying every time they venture out, they get hit with a blizzard and a tornado, but a little bad weather keeps them honest. That's all I'm saying. Oh, I hope you enjoy running Dungeons and Dragons as much as I do, and I try to make my world as grounded as possible, so that when abnormal stuff happens, it's more pronounced. You know, if you're fighting off some wolves and some guy runs up and casts a fireball at you, yeah, that's a big change of pace. You see what I'm saying? Um, if everything in your world is magical, then nothing is special. That's all I'm saying. Hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good one. God bless one and all. There is a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. When the police detective, who happens to be a skinwalker squirrel, uncovers a plot by a paranormal perpetrator, he has to enlist the aid of his fellow housemates. If you enjoy a modern, quirky take on historical mythology, check out my new original novel, The House Off Farrago Road.